apresentada que foi a doutrina da cibersegurança pelo José Alegria, nós vamos procurar, agora nas próximas apresentações, na verdade, mostrar-vos, em termos daquilo que são serviços, Redshift e tecnologia dos nossos parceiros, em que é que estas componentes das nossas ofertas contribuem para cada uma das dimensões que o José Alegria agora apresentou. Portanto, segue-se o José Fernandez da Alarcon, que é o Sales Manager da Tenable para Portugal e Espanha, e a sua apresentação foca-se no papel da Tenable na dimensão da prevenção ativa. Bem-vindo, José.
Pedro. Obrigado. Bom dia a todos. I think I will switch to English because it's much better than my Portuguese, and we'll leave a common ground. Wanted to starting to congratulate Redshift for this amazing journey. It's been, as Joan was explaining earlier, it's been a great growth path. We've been with Redshift for quite a long time. They've been our top partner in Portugal for more than 8 years now. So we really have gone in step and growing and finding new projects and also migrating our view as the cybersecurity market has evolved. Today, with this combined view, after José Alegria has explained the overall vision, the overall architecture from a CISO point of view, I will want to explain what Tenable's approach to the market is. And you may know us because we are the leaders in vulnerability management for quite some years now. But we are expanding now to approach a more holistic view of what the exposure management. Just to quote a little bit from Gartner, just to put in perspective, Gartner is defining CTEM, the Continuous Threat Exposure Management, as something. Many trends in the market don't exist until Gartner says they exist. We've been working on this for many years, actually. What we talk about when we talk about continuous threat exposure management is understanding where the risk will come from and reducing that attack surface. What Gartner says is organizations that embrace this approach, reduce their attack surface, they will experience 3 times less attacks. It will be a lot easier for them to defend against attackers because they will have reduced their attack surface. So, talking about where we stand in the security continuum, obviously for practical reasons, a lot of the cybersecurity efforts and investment comes on the reactive side. What to do when you are attacked, when you are breached. All this firefighting needs that we need to put in place when we detect that we've been attacked. When WannaCry would be an example. Now, what we want to talk about is the proactive part of cybersecurity. Is where you spend a lot less effort and money to make sure that you're ready when the attacks come. So, when you're working about breach management, you need to identify who's attacking you, where the threats are, where the incidents are, and you need to do it very quickly with sometimes not enough information. When you are worrying about the proactive side, is doing the prevention side of the cybersecurity, you will spend less money because every time you have a breach, and you can look at different studies from different analysts, there is also a significant risk in fixing whatever the breach is. So when you're doing breach management, then you need to reprioritize everything, and you cannot really deal with everything at once. If you focus on the proactive side with exposure management, what you're trying to do is reduce as much as possible where you can be attacked. Obviously, you will not avoid being attacked at some point or being breached at some point, but you will reduce tremendously the size of the attack. So what's the approach and how do we reduce this attack surface? Basically, when we are managing multiple tools in any security environment, you will have I don't know, 10, 15, 20 tools at least. Any mid-sized organization is bound to have at least that many sources of risk information. They can be assigned to traditional vulnerability management, to web, to APIs, applications. If they're an industrial company, the OT, IoT part. You can have identity management as well to take care of. Now, when you have different siloed tools, each of them will give you their context. But typically, it will be your analysts, your consultants that need to extract the data, start shuffling it around, sending it to different teams to try to figure out what's important and who needs to act. So when you have a lot of disconnected workflows, it's inefficient. It doesn't give you the complete picture. So when typically you will have different tools with different levels of maturity, different levels of investment and knowledge in your teams. Does this sound similar to what you may see in your existing organization? The challenge we have is that we still have a limited set of people and money and budget and operational resources I can dedicate to each of these tools. And if I have to allocate to many different tools without any context, then I'm losing a lot of effectiveness in the available budget. There's never enough budget. I've never met a customer that says, I have plenty, I don't know where to spend my budget in. Can I buy more tools, please? And because it just doesn't happen. Typically, we are constrained by resources, by the size of our teams, and the time that is really available. Not even starting about organizational issues and how to interact with the other teams. When we are in the security team, we are telling the IT teams many times to do things. And it's important to tell them the right things to act on, because we cannot really have them go after emergencies every day. So the challenge, of course, attackers don't care about individual tools that you may have. Attackers look for any breach, any potential vulnerable asset, and they will hit that. And it's often said that the attacker only has to be right one time out of 100, while the security leader needs to be right 100 times. But it's not really that simple. And typically, organizations are normally fairly well protected. It's not that easy to breach. However, when you have multiple ways of entry, an attacker that can move in undetected and can have enough time to move around, they will have enough tools to move around and breach you. So eventually, the attacker will reach your key assets in your organization, and it will typically use not a single threat or not a single vector. They will use a combination of techniques. It will be tied to vulnerabilities, to permissions, to misconfigurations, to maybe the wrong privileges assigned to an account. And therefore, you will have, on one side, you need to have the technical context, what could happen in your network, but at the same time, you need to be able to map it to the business context, because not all the assets in your environment have the same criticality or the same exposure. You need to find out which critical assets in your business have the more critical business needs. So basically, when you work with this multiple layers, multiple ways of breaching, you don't really know what you don't know. It's unseen exposure. You don't know what's going to happen. Typically, and it happens with ransomware attacks, an attacker can be propagating inside your network for days, weeks, or even months. It's something you do not detect unless you're looking for it. So what happens then? How can you work smarter and better? What would be the attacker use? They will use different breaches in different technologies, and you need to approach in a more holistic way. You need to find an exposure management that is able to extract the data from all the different tools and provide you a common view on where to approach your priorities. So you need to have visibility across all your assets, across all your potential risks. You need to prioritize, because you will likely have too many alerts, too many alarms, too many priorities, too many patches to fix in endpoints, and you cannot really do everything. In fact, you should not try to do everything, because that only tires the team. Because every time they're being asked to do things in a very, very short turnaround time. So you need to prioritize, and you need to provide context. You need to tell the teams what to fix, where, and why. And then you need to communicate. A lot of the previous presentation from Jose was how to escalate to the board, how to communicate, how the CISO needs to communicate. When you work in cybersecurity, many of the topics we deal with are not very fancy, very sexy. It's not fun to talk about how many thousands vulnerabilities you have in your network, or what are the critical indicators of compromise. That it's hard to communicate to a board level. So you need to make sure that you can communicate the risk in a way that the board can understand. So the 3 points. We need to enable the business, we need to mitigate the risk, and at the same time, we need to be efficient. We need to make better use of our existing resource. So the proposal we have in Tenable, and we are migrating all of our solutions to be covered by what we call Tenable One. Not very original there, but you get the point. It's a platform approach where we can combine data from multiple data sources. We have our own sensors. We have market-leading sensors to identify risk and vulnerabilities in traditional IT, in OT, in IoT, in web applications, because that's where your attack surface is. Also in identities, also in cloud assets. Every time you look at your infrastructure, you cannot just focus on your Linux servers or your Windows servers. You need to focus about the whole picture, where you can be attacked. So you need to have a single vision, something that can tell you the complete risk in a single way. Having context that can correlate all the information from the different sources, and then an action. Where are the priorities? What we should be doing first? So, and this could be a high-level view of explaining it, which is the complete exposure management. What we've done is, instead of having multiple sensors giving us isolated bits of information that you need to retrieve and then try to make sense of it, we are extracting data from our own sensors, the more traditional ones, the ones you can see at the bottom of the picture, downloading everything into a single exposure data lake, which allows us to correlate and homologate the intelligence we get from all the different bits and pieces. And because in any organization, even though we have a lot of sensors and we have a very strong capability to generate intelligence, we will not be the only one to provide this risk intelligence. We are also integrating data from third parties. We are adding technology to our platform that allows us to integrate technology from many other vendors. A few of them will speak after me today, because they're also Redshift partners. Now, what do we do with this information, with this data lake? Basically, we try to make your life easier in terms of giving you more time. How do we do that? We extract a very powerful analytics layer on top of the data lake, of the risk data lake. We provide a full inventory from all the different sources. We provide deep analysis on where are all your attack paths, which assets in your environment can be attacked, how can they be attacked, which would be the critical choke points that you need to focus on. Because by eliminating those choke points, you will reduce tremendously your risk. So you do not need to focus on fixing 1,000 endpoints if you can fix a single choke point that affects all of them at once. And then with this prioritization, telling you exactly where you need to act, also comes the mobilization of all this information. How do you remediate? we will need to orchestrate between the risk information that we provide and your tools to fix it. Your orchestration tools, your CMDB, your ticketing system, your CM, everything that's used by the SOC to detect incidents. We provide this intelligence in real time so we can mobilize everything that's being provided by the data lake. This is fairly new. Not other vendors are also combining data, but we are the only ones combining data from all the vulnerabilities and all the risks in all the sensors I'm showing. As of last week, because we've acquired Vulcan Cyber a few months ago, as of last week, we can ingest in our data information, risk information on at least 40 more vendors beyond what we have in our own sensor pool. This is important because we cannot expect to come into a large customer and ask them to replace everything they have, all the tools they have. What we will do is extract the data from the tools and combine them, put it into the data fabric for risk, and then try to make some sense out of it. Deduplicate information, make sure that even if I get risk information from 3 or 4 different tools on a single asset, I will not get this information duplicated. So it's relevant because this is the way the business is moving forward. Not many people can do this. So going a bit quicker because I don't want to run out of time. Sorry. So how does this look like? And this can be a bit of an eye test, so I will not spend too much time. But basically, when we talk about inventory, it's a way of showing all of your assets with all the different sources. You have our sensors and third-party sensors, and they all combine into a single inventory view. We can ingest data from multiple connectors. We don't require complex integrations. It's API-based connectors. They don't require agents. We just extract data from sources such as Recorded Future or CrowdStrike that we'll be speaking later. And then we can drill down into specific asset information, combining all this data. For attack paths, we give you the insight. I was talking about choke points, for example, as a key way to detect where my organization is most compromised. So if I show you an attack path from the entry point outside my organization into the crown jewels, the domain controllers or the critical servers, I show you how the attacker would move through, which vulnerabilities they could be exploited, they could exploit in each of the assets in the path, and which propagation techniques they can use. All of that combined with an interactive map, so I can see which other assets can be compromised by this same attack path, and so on. And all supported by AI, like many other tools in the market are incorporating. Why is this relevant? We've been using machine learning for many years now because every day we are tracking more than 100,000 vulnerabilities. Let's keep this data, 100,000 vulnerabilities. We have a lot of machine learning because every day Tenable reviews the criticality of those vulnerabilities and decides whether they're likely to hit you or not. This is very dynamic. It's not a static table that somebody found in a vulnerability 6 months ago. Every day we are checking on that. We are using our own intelligence plus many other sources to provide this dynamic analysis. Now, what we are doing with AI, which is more visible to the user, is that now we are allowing our interfaces to do natural language queries and also explain the results. So it's easier to understand and to send the findings to a team that needs to act on them. Again, it's a way of using long-term existing technology with machine learning, and now with the natural language models, we are easier to interface with the actual users of our tools. And then again, it gets more complicated, but the point about these screenshots, and I wanted to put some screenshots to really land how this looks like. I was talking about how to communicate risk to the board. Imagine you are running a network with 5,000 assets, and you have a certain degree of risk. And how do you communicate this to your financial manager, who doesn't really care about cybersecurity, doesn't really understand a CVE from a virus, and it's really hard to explain. It's easier if you can tell them, look, you have a C score. We as an organization have a C score. And the way we build this score is across these 5 different business units. This is the specific score of these 5 business units. This is how they benchmark. And if you want to compare yourself to another company in the same vertical segment, I can provide you this comparison. I can tell you if you're better or you're worse than the average many thousands of customers that we are benchmarking, obviously anonymized. We can provide the trends. What's happening? Did a WannaCry happen last month that suddenly made our risk jump through the roof? How is this trending? Is it going up or down? Are we doing better or worse? And then, of course, reporting, because reporting is typically a problem with any tool. We can integrate with your own internal dashboards. Every major organization has their own dashboarding to report not only on our tools, but on other operational tools. We can integrate that information into very powerful reports that you can extract and you can use in your day-to-day management. So, just to close, I promise, 30 seconds. The balance between proactive and reactive is when you have multiple tools and you have siloed protection, you have a certain attack surface. The objective is to reduce it as much as possible, because when you turn into the operations, the threats and incidents, you really need to have the least work you can handle. So how do you do that? You try to extend the visibility, try to see as much as possible in a proactive way, try to reduce this attack surface, because down the road, the threats you need to handle and the incidents will be smaller. And this would be the main approach and why the proactive security that Tenable works on to reduce your attack surface is as relevant as the reactive side. You will have better visibility, a lower cost of operation, and an easier way to fix your breaches. And if this moves, I think I'm finishing here. Thanks a lot.